Dundalk is one of the only locations in Ireland to be lucky enough to have an ice dome, or had an ice dome, until 2010, when it closed down and has become dilapidated since. I'm joined today by two leading members of the Irish Ice Hockey Association, Aaron Guli and William Fitzgerald, who have both been campaigning and trying to negotiate to have the ice dome opened up and brought back to its original glory. The ice dome is currently owned by DkIT, Dundalk Institute of Technology. Aaron and William, I'd like to welcome you both to the show.
Thank you for having us.
Lads, ice hockey in Ireland, it's not something that seems to be naturally associated. Could you give us a little bit of background to both the game in Ireland as well as the association itself?
Faber can come in. I suppose I've been playing ice hockey in Ireland for, I suppose, since my teens. I'm 53 now, 54 this year. But I've been playing ice hockey since back in the 80s in Dolphin's Barn over in Dublin and Phibsborough in Dublin as well. But there's been rinks and there's been hockey there for some other years as well. There were some other temporary facilities. But over the years, it's grown and grown in size and in popularity in the country. But as we saw over time, there were facilities there and then facilities faded away, as we've just spoken about. But there's history there with the rink and ice hockey since way back in the early 80s. A lot of the college of surgeons guys would have been playing hockey here back in the day over in Dolphin's Barn. They would have come to the rink skating very late at night, as is the case at present. But again, it was a real good thing. I grew up in Kilbarrack on the north side of Dublin and was travelling great distances across on the train and buses to get to Dolphin's Barn, and regularly slept in the ice rink because you'd be there all night. So it was great, really a great community, great spirit around the ice rink. And really, you know, we saw that develop and grow over the years as well, where multiple teams and then juniors and then ladies teams as well. So it really has a quite a long history going back to early in the 80s. And of course, there's, you know, people will testify that the Irish have a bit of a, you know, around the foundations of ice hockey, that hurling has played a bit of, you know, influence in there as well. So it goes right back, Finbar.
Okay, Aaron, do you want to add to that at all?
Other than just to say the kind of misnomer that, you know, ice hockey or winter sports are not traditional or home here in Ireland. I just think that that's kind of just a misplaced comment that people make. You know, a lot could be said, you know, and say Iceland is not a traditional football country, but, you know, there they are beating England in the World Cup, you know. So, you know, ice sports and winter sports have been in Ireland for a long, long time. I'd say well over 100 years. So I think that people need to kind of understand that.
Okay. Dundalk had an ice dome. I attended it lots of times to actually skate in the ice dome itself. But I also went there to watch teams coming down from Belfast to play, and there was great excitement about it. The people of Dundalk were really proud to have an ice dome. What is the state of Dundalk Ice Dome today?
The physical state of it is not good. It's become very, well, it's become derelict. It's been closed now for 11 years. There's been no real work put into it. And I know, I want to say 5 years ago, I know some people broke into it and were ripping out copper wires and pipes. So, you know, there's leaks in the roof, there's mold in drywall. So it's just in a bad state. There's been nothing put into it for the last 11 years, really, since it closed. So it's derelict, and it's becoming worse and worse every year. Even over the past year, you can see now, even on the front face of the building, there's graffiti scrawled all over the front of it. It just, you know, everyone I speak to in Dundalk will say the same thing. It's an eyesore.
It's been in the ownership of DkIT, Dundalk Institute of Technology, since 2013, am I correct?
2013 or 14, give or take, around there, yeah.
And in that time, there's been no effort on the part of DkIT themselves to rejuvenate the ice dome or put it to its original function in any way.
Not that I'm aware of. Not Not for DkIT to do it themselves. I'm not aware of that, so I can't speak for them.
Okay. And you guys have been, I won't use the word campaigning, you've been negotiating. You've been negotiating to try to bring it back to its original condition and purpose. How has that gone? How did you get involved in those negotiations in the first place? What spurred you on?
Well, first, what spurred us on is our complete lack of an ice rink here in Ireland. We've been having to use Belfast for quite an extensive time, and it's a long journey. Now, DkIT did put a for sale sign on the building about 5 years ago. So we kind of were inquiring about purchasing the building. We were making a little bit of headway with the previous president. And then when he left and the new and current president came in, he, as per the minutes of the board at DkIT, decided that he no longer wanted to sell the premises. So we engaged with them in early 2018 about leasing. And in total, we had put in over 3 years of negotiations to lease that premises. But at the end of the day, we didn't really seem to be moving anywhere with them. I've never personally in all my professional career experienced that sort of time for a general lease of a premises.
You mean that time to negotiate a lease, that it would take 3 years? Just to step back a little bit, you said something, the original president, you seem to be making headway there. What did you mean by that?
He was very open to selling the premises, and we were having discussions as far as what they were asking to sell the building, and, you know, in essence, kind of having a conversation / negotiation as to what we could purchase the building for, price-wise.
Okay. And so there was a significant change of attitude or approach to the negotiations when this new president came in.
Yeah, he flat out said he had no interest in selling.
Okay. And you're probably not aware whether that was a unilateral decision on his part or whether it was a committee decision within DkIT, or you probably maybe don't know that, do you?
Just what I've been told, and I'm not going to comment on hearsay, you know?
Okay. In terms of the negotiations themselves, did you guys have a proper plan in place, a proper business plan to put down to them, or were you just talking in terms of hopes for what you'd like to achieve, or aspirational negotiations, or did you actually have a business plan?
No, we had a plan, or we have a business plan. We submitted it to them in March of 2018. They informed us early April of 2018 that because they are a public body, that they needed, for transparency, to use an agent in all proceedings going forward. So they appointed an agent in the middle of April. We eventually heard back from him, I think it was June, to basically, he put out kind of an expression of interest for all interested parties. We put in our kind of bid, if you will, and that included our business plan and a couple other of points, you know, that kind of were in parallel to their heads of terms. In September,
so just to confirm that you had a financial backer for this, or no funding there?
We did. It was a very prominent and long-standing Dublin businessman who provided 4 years of audited accounts to show that he had the money to back this. In the third week of September 2018, we were informed that DkIT had accepted our bid, and we would then start lease negotiations. Nothing really happened for the rest of 2018. And kind of out of frustration, I had a meeting with the current president, the then chairman of the board of directors, and the local TD or ex-TD, Declan Brotnock, to see if we could resolve what the issues were as far as why it was taking so long. It was at that point that the current president informed me that they were not going to accept our financial backer and would not give any explanation as to why that was. So we were left sort of floundering as to try to find a replacement, which we did. A local businesswoman from Dundalk who owns a tech company went through the same process, provided them with her letter of intent as far as what she would provide financially. They informed us in May of 2019 that another third party was interested and that they were going to provide them with their due diligence. Hence, therefore, our process stopped until September of 2019, when DkIT again informed us that they were going to proceed and go forward with us. The end of November, they provided us with a draft lease, which we gave to our solicitors. Their solicitors did not engage at all until about the third week of January 2020, after the Christmas break. There were some major points that needed to be addressed. And then kind of cue the end of February, March 2020, when the coronavirus really kicked off. That stalled everything until about July or August 2020. We re-engaged once DkIT started kind of back to some sort of normal business, which was understandable. But then between kind of September to early February 21, we got absolutely nowhere with them. And it just became...
Are DkIT currently talking to you?
No, they kind of out of frustration to them, we really pressed them, and they said, look, put in your final offer, which we did in early February of this year, which was essentially everything that we had already agreed upon with them and their heads of terms. And they informed us that our offer did not meet their criteria.
Okay. How are you feeling about this whole process now after putting in what is essentially 8 years of negotiations and hope and work and effort and seeking financial backers and getting it thrown in your face and then getting new backers? How do you feel after that process? And nothing, it would appear nothing at the end of it thus far.
I'll be honest with you, I feel exhausted. I feel mentally exhausted because, besides literally 1 point on their heads of terms, we agreed with everything.
What was the one point that you didn't agree on?
Yeah, they essentially wanted us to completely renovate their whole building, and they wanted a guarantor for the life of the lease, which was 15 years. Now, we were not going to get an investor who was going to do both of those. It was going to be one or the other. If we were going to put 400,000 euros, which in essence equal to half of what they were asking for on a sale price, we felt that 400,000 was the guarantee. So look, we negotiated with them. We had many discussions. They ultimately agreed and dropped that point as long as we provided a guarantor for the work itself, which we did. We have a very prominent Dublin businessman who, again, provided a letter and the audited accounts that he would back. Sorry, I'm getting back.
Yeah, just go on ahead. Well, Aaron, I can hear you. Okay.
Okay. That he would guarantee that the work would be provided.
Okay. Just to bring Will in there for a wee minute. Will, how do you feel about all this as Ireland's one of Ireland's most enthusiastic ice hockey players? How do you feel about this after 8 years of banging at a wall and not even a crack appearing?
I can tell you, Finbar, it's not nice, especially on the week when you get 2 bilateral knee injections in, when it's telling you that your career might be coming to an end. Like, you can see what I did on the background. I'm hoping it's shown up on the final video.
We can see that. Where is that, Will?
Like, that's Dundalk Ice Dome in its glory days. You can see the ice rink is there. You've got a big, well-lit, wonderful modern arena. You've got crowds in there. You've got a large area where people can come in. World Championships were there, as you know, Finbar, back in 2007. I lived in there. Hockey clubs lived in there. The kids at Dundalk, again, I mentioned before, like, I know Dundalk intimately. It was a hockey town. That place was buzzing. That's Dundalk Ice Dome, and unfortunately, it looks a lot less like that now. It's in an awful state. As a guy who's playing it for over 30 odd years, Finbar, it's heartbreaking. When I look at the attempts to go in to negotiate what should be a simple lease for a building and be extended over 3+ years, it's just baffling. You know, we've got kids, and we've got women, and we've got men and teams who are chomping at the bit. You know, we've sustained over 300 members of the association year on year without an ice rink. So you can imagine what we would do if we did have an ice rink. World Championships, a possibility. Figure skating championships, a possibility. Paralympic hockey, wheelchair hockey, all of these different things, public skating, discos. There's so many things that could be done in a rink like that. It becomes a whole ecosystem for the town. And look, the town deserves it.
It's just looking at it, it's unique in the Irish Republic, or it was unique in the Irish Republic. And we're not talking about a little frozen puddle here. As you can see from your background, it was an immense project that Dundalk was really, really proud of, I have to say. Lads, we're going to close up soon. In terms of your hope for the future to push this deal through in some way, to get it up to its original function, the end game, it may be a different type of negotiation that will have that outcome. But do you think that it'll ever be brought back to ice skating in the Ice Dome in Dundalk again?
I really think that comes down to DkIT. My understanding from people I've spoken to at the college, that most people up there were not aware of what was actually going on, and the fact that we were negotiating with them for 3 years. And I think the people of Dundalk are showing through newspaper articles at the college, the politicians, that people are not happy with the way this is turning out. And DkIT can try to hide behind that we're currently in negotiations. But look, I know for a fact that the people they're negotiating with are tennis. So you want to turn the only purpose-built ice arena in the Republic of Ireland into a tennis hall? That's shameful.
Did you get, I won't press you on it too much, but you have confirmation that they were negotiating with an organization that would not be providing its original function of ice skating.
Because I've spoken to that organization. Yes, I can confirm that. Yeah.
Okay.
And, it just goes to show that this sort of kind of lack of progressive thinking when it comes to sports facilities in this country. And it really kind of shows the real bias against winter sports. Yes, we would absolutely, and I think Will come in on this and say, we are 100% committed to reopening the Dundalk Ice Dome. But at the end of the day, it really comes down to the will of the people at DkIT.
Are you going to continue campaigning?
We are, Finbar. I think one of the things that we've seen, and certainly anyone who's looking at recently has seen is that we've had a lot of support coming in very recently. A number of TDs have been supportive, local media, town media have been supporting. And there's a lot of discussion about this, because when you look at the facility like this sitting idle, when sports are crying out for facilities, and it's there, and we're the national and governing body of the sport, recognised by Sport Ireland, members of the International Ice Hockey Federation for many years, and to see it sitting there, Ireland's only purpose-built Olympic-sized ice rink, rotting on a day-to-day basis. We're going to keep going, Finbar. We have the backing of a lot of people are very behind us in this. Aaron says the ball isn't necessarily in our court. It does lie within the DkIT's court. But we would like to think that, common sense would prevail on this as well.
Okay. Aaron, one final word before we finish up.
Yeah, look, 2021, winter sports is part of Ireland. And we're the only bodies, or only sporting bodies, that literally have to leave the country in order to participate. Now, some people will say, well, Northern Ireland, that's semantics. But at the end of the day, our international governing body, as well as geography, dictates Northern Ireland is another country. So, figure skaters need to go there, skiers, luge, skeleton, bobsleigh, they all have to go to North America or other parts of Europe. In the year 2021, we would think that Ireland, one of the richest countries in the world, so I've heard, would be able to accommodate at least one facility for winter sports.
And you would also expect that every locality in Ireland would be baying for the opportunity to have that. Aaron Guli, William Fitzgerald, thanks for joining us this evening. I hope to have you on the show again, and I hope that next time we'll be talking about positive progress with Dundalk Ice Dome and bringing it back to its original glory. Thanks for joining us this evening, gentlemen.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Finbar.